Paglia was the changer of the straw on this mountaintop village of Il Monte San Biagio. Cenga existed somewhere on the spectrum of a non-linear time squiggle, somewhere past a rent in the comforting cloak of time, which had been gleefully sutured up by the jester of eternity, using the Melbourne method. He was considered the crazy one of this hilltop hamlet because he could be seen each morning in windows and open doorways throughout town, tossing a golden orchard straw wildly into the air and having it shower and rain down around him in the dawn's flaxen, sandy sunlight. On the surface, it seemed that only someone a little off-kilter, un po' pazzo in testa, a little crazy in the head, would be drawn to this livelihood. The town San Biagio was named for a hermit holy man who was supported and nourished by the townsfolk and had dwelled in a cave on the cliff's edge some 10,000 moons ago. As the instrument of divine intervention, he had dislodged an almond which had stuck in a child's windpipe. With the use of 2 crossed olive branches gently placed at the base of her throat, he prayed and saved her life, and was thus thrust into the immortal's world as a humble, revered saint. Some places adapt, others hug their ways to their chest and secretly smile, like in a gambler's fallacy, hoping for the benevolent hand to be dealt them by the muse of chance. Here, there were old customs that had been in effect for a long, long time, and would remain unchanged for time yet to come. The moon gods, with invisible lines attached to and flowing from their fingertips to the earth oceans, tug and pull on the salty water once every sunlighting, just for fun, and to distort the earth from an orange shape to a lemon shape, exposing a clay and sand mattress after pulling the ocean water away from the shore and then returning it to its resting place, like pulling a warm covering of warped threads crocheted into a wool duvet over a straw bed. The exposed clay and the sand were used as the core substance for bricks. The light blue stucco homes of the village were built with these molded mud bricks, hauled up the mountainside in buckets from the salt water seabed at the foot of the mesa, where they had been formed and dried under the enchantment of the Mediterranean sky. Il Monte San Biagio was a non chiedere, no ask, honorable town. Each townsperson held in hand all that they needed. They were drawn to little beyond that which they already enjoyed. The town gates to the passage stairs closed each evening just past sundown and opened each morn just after sunup. Not that the gateway kept anyone out. This closed portal instead gave everyone a sense of the warmth and security of a caring community, like a hand clasp or a hug of recognition on a busy byway under the warm summer sun. Villagers here looked out for each other in a way that others may not. Home doors were left unlocked all day and night, partly because the doors had no locks on them, and partly because, just because. Cenga was completely trustworthy in his life on this tabletop macrocosm. because he had all he ever needed, as there was nothing he ever wanted. And everyone knew this. He would just go house to house, whether there was anyone home or not. And because he was truthful, always, he was a no-ask with anyone. Ever since the eldest of times, there has always been a changer of the straw living on Il Monte San Biagio. As in all of times, the changer has always been a direct descendant of the cenga familia, both forward and backward in all the moons that have been counted. Go there. You will find the current changer of the straw still living and working on Il Monte San Biagio, meandering from house to house, drifting from door to door each morning. Cenga also had a unique avocational craft. He created small clay orbs. They each had a single finger joint diameter. The marble was made with 2 or more colorful pieces of clay compressed into a ball and baked hard over a fire using an antique and heavy cast iron press. The press consisted of 2 very long handles leading up to the 2 concave hinged halves ready to receive the rolled clay pieces, and when clamped together conformed to a symmetrical spherical shape. It was very much like unto the Italian bezel maker, only round, not flat. The marbles were made precisely, one each at a time. The orb had a unique marking on its otherwise smooth siding. The initials CP were indented into the side of the mini globe from the embossing on the inside of the mold to identify it as made by the cenga familia, same as a bezel. Cenga used to sit on the passageway stairs, asking and allowing the orb to float in the air with the telekinetic energy emanating from the palm of his hand. He would use the same energy to suspend the straw in the air as he separated the compressed clumps of straw and fluffed them up for sleeping before they fell into the bed frame. Hay or straw is the stem sometimes channeled out or empty, left after the floret of chaff and grain have been separated and harvested from the stalk. Cenga was the one who would escort air into the spaces between the bundles of straw and into the hollow hay which had been squeezed into the bed frame by the tossing and turning of an evening of nocturnal or an afternoon of siesta sleep. He would do this by throwing the straw into the air and gently allowing it to float down to the pallet, thereby fluffing up the pillow beds. Cenga would go to the houses of the village folk who had consigned his services, remove the quilt coverlet of multicolored duck cloth and wool from the bed frame, pull back the paste-colored muslin sheet directly over the straw, pick up the pads of trussed straw, and actually suspend and hang it in the air using the energy from his hands and directed by his telekinetic gifts. And then, swiftly, with a wand built from a bundle of bamboo strips, slit, stitched, and bound together with twine, which cloaked around and covered the central core of a gnarled branch of an olive tree, and held with his hands, curled and caressing the wrapped, rough, rounded blue linen handle, and with the graceful agility of a swordsman, in one muscle memory movement of practiced precision, decisively draw and smoothly swat and strike at the hay as it descended to its resting place, being readied with new life to receive old sleep. Cenga always carried this rod in a sheath attached to his back. He would draw the spada di legno, wooden sword, and in several swift motions tossle the jumbles of crudely baled epee and break them up into soft, airy, separate strands as they cascaded down on and around him within the materasso imbotito di paglia, straw-filled mattress frame, to make a thick and comfortable bed cushion for the home dweller. Cenga had a friend in Mago dei Fiori, the town florist. They moved through their lives as two inseparable souls, yet thinking as two autonomous minds, rising slowly and carefully from small sprouts to the present. Many stories of their lives abound in their heads and in their hearts. Cenga wore an ankle-length monk's frock with wide flowing sleeves, a hovering hood, and belted with a lengthy weave of braided straw. With the tunic he wore tight, tailored cloth leggings called capature della gamba, made as separate garments for each leg, and with a separate piece covering the groin area called the braghetta. This was important for Cenga. When he hung upside down on the olive branches leaning off the side of the cliff, his robe would cascade up and over his head. It could be a little immodest, if not properly attended. Mago wore a short, conical black wax-top mushroom water cap. It is a hat traditionally worn by wizards and is a symbol of wisdom and intelligence. She donned her cap over a loose-fitting and comfortable robe bearing stars and a crescent moon symbol. Cenga was dark-skinned with black curly hair and from the mid-southern part of the country. Mago was light-skinned with light hair and from the northern country. Once, when they were walking, Mago told Cenga, "I wasn't born here. I grew up on a farm in Milan." "Oh, I'm so sorry," replied Cenga. But why should you be sorry?" asked Mago. "Well, because you threw up on your arm," explained Cenga. Mago, shaking her head, looked down, and with mild amusement and understanding emphasis, stated, "No, I grew up on a farm." Ah, the confusion of dialects and speech. When together, they would look at their intertwined hands, light skin and dark skin, and remark, "Looks like vanilla fudge." No one could ever win a staring contest with Cenga. If you glanced up and caught his eyes on you, as your eyes would lock, you would always think, "Oh, no, he knows," not really knowing what it is he might know, and then immediately turn your gaze to the ground, so as not to reveal any more of yourself. The small-town teaser would occasionally come by to bother Cenga. Cenga would stretch out both arms, his hands with vertical palms open and facing the one presenting this friendly taunt, and using the same energy that he used to levitate the marble and hang the hay, would gently keep the fellow townsperson at a distance. Cenga would then say, "Hai vinto nuovamente," "You win again," and with head bowed in reverence, shoulders shrunk and slumped, round and curved, and with withdrawn hands folded in prayer mudra, he would slowly back away and meditate on the thought, "Even a good guy says something bad once in a while. Even a bad guy says something good once in a while." While retreating into a peaceful mind, it unintentionally harassed the harrier, as he looked on in confusion as to what had just transpired. Mago dei Fiori knew that even the untrained will always slip and land one unanswerable thrust unparried, just as the most astute partner will always find an opening to lay her mocking words gently down. Mago, trained and experienced in the verbal arts, did just this, taunting Cenga to see if she could prod him into a verbal squabble, which usually ended in a quietly contentious debate, rhetorically stroking and calling him crazy, pazzo, or mad as a hatter, matto come un capeleo, and Cenga sometimes refusing to accept the challenge, saying, "Hai vinto, you win," with Cenga quietly smiling and slinking away, hunched over in feigned despair. Mago would see Cenga hanging from a tree, singing with the sparrows, who were also resting on the tree branches and hiding in the cliff hollows, and call out, "Hey, crazy man, is this what you do with your day?" He would introspectively retreat into himself, softly muttering, "Sono e sono. I am who I am." Ever since their youth, Mago and Cenga were friends, running around the village, crossing and cracking cypress tree sticks with each other. Mago had grand aspirations of being someone, something, and somewhere. Cenga was happy and sated to be here, wherever that was. Cenga could frequently be seen in the village square, peeling an orange and dividing up the slices to give to the children gathered round the town fountain, realizing in this small way his dreams of having just enough that allowed him to share, through him, these alms from the earth. Mago would chide him as being too carefree and breezy to become a baker and bake a loaf of bread, and Cenga would always declare unperturbed, in a poetic rendering, "Sarò quella che sarò. I will be what I will be." Mago dei Fiori, meaning Wizard of the Flowers, was the town florist, and also a creative artigiana, an artisan. Her primary painting medium was abstract watercolor depictions of flowers from her home garden. She would use pigments extracted from the petals of flowers in her greenhouse, crushing the petals in a mortar and pestle to release the tincture, mixing the slurry in a small bowl, adding water to create a paste, filter that paste through a very fine cheesecloth into another bowl, then evaporate the liquid in the afternoon sun on the steps of I Grandi Passi di Montagna, the steps leading up to the plateau. Her painting brushes were handmade with the fallen and collected tail feathers of the red kite falcon, who rested and nested on the hillside cliffs. The feathers were tucked into a small circular metal ferrule, and then the opposite side of the ferrule was connected to a handle made from skinny, smaller branches of the olive trees, following which both sides were crimped tightly together. Artists are always seeking perfection in their works, a perfectionist being one who is always striving but never arriving. Mago had to remind herself that the very first time that her brush touched the paper, it was perfect. So also the second and the third. How else could it be but perfect? It is all you are up to that point in your life. As that stands, everything is perfect. And standing beside this thought is that nothing needs to be more than perfect. The vocational soul calling of Mago dei Fiori lent itself to peaceful creations. She grew flowers in her glass greenhouse and sold them on the steps of I Grandi Passi di Montagna over Monte San Biagio, alongside her paintings. And then there were these grand mountain steps, I Grandi Passi di Montagna, leading up to the village and back down, where afternoons Mago and Cenga would sit in the warmth of the siesta sun, offering their wares of simple calligraphic artwork, of homespun quotes of warmth, fresh flowers, and floral watercolor sketches and paintings to guests, family, friends, and the familiar strangers passing by, while villagers were resting and visitors were milling about. Love, all else will follow. Amore, tutto il resto seguir. Poems are words dancing on the air, Le poesie sono parole che danzano nell'aria. Be good, and you may find that good returning to you. Sii buono e potresti scoprire che quel bene ti ritorna. If you're going through a hard time, find the trap door. Se stai attraversando un momento difficile, trova la botola. Halfway from home is far away from heaven. A metà strada di casa è lontano dal paradiso. We must accept that which is, yet we do not fully understand. Dobbiamo accettare ciò che è, tuttavia non lo comprendiamo appieno. What is the price? It is the same for all. You get to live and love one more day. Quanto costa? È lo stesso per tutti. Potrai vivere e amare un altro giorno. Trust your intuition and search for the truth. Fidate del tuo intuito e cerca la verità. Each effect can have several causes. Ogni effetto può avere diverse cause. The arc of justice leans toward good. Sometimes it's just too damn slow. Della giustizia tende a bene. A volte è semplicemente troppo lento. Truth is the touch of a warm hand resting on your shoulder. La verità è il tocco di una mano calda appoggiata sulla tua spalla. If you reach your dreams, you may disappear. So live in your dreams each moment. Se raggiungi i tuoi sogni, potresti scomparire. Quando vivi nei tuoi sogni ogni momento. Giving up is to say, here I lay. Choose not to give up. Arrendersi significa dire, sono qui. Scegli di non arrenderti. Catch sight of the moonlight reflection in a raindrop. Osserva il riflesso della luna in una gioia di pioggia. I have but one heart, it is now with you. Ho un solo cuore, ora è con te. No one knows, so don't ask. However, the old man in the attic may know something. Nessuno lo sa, quindi non chiedere. Tuttavia il vecchio in soffitta potrebbe sapere qualcosa. Denial and hope are inextricably intertwined, like two parallel roads on a Mobius plane, each side by side and by turns passing each other, making it difficult to discern which is which. Negazione e speranza sono inestricabilmente intrecciate. Come due strade parallele sei un piano Mobius, ciascuno fianco a fianco e attorno passando l'uno accanto all'altro, rendendo difficile discernere quale si quale. I don't know. Non so lo. My church is where I stand. La mia chiesa è dove mi sto in piedi. My church is where I sit. La mia chiesa è dove mi siedo. My church is where I kneel. La mia chiesa è dove mi inginocchio. My church is where I lay my head. La mia chiesa è dove appoggio il capo. Near the end I ask to break bread and sip water with some I've known a few more times. To walk a path together in silence a few more times. to sit on a park bench or a wooden porch swing, softly passing thoughts back and forth a few more times. To lay my head back, close my eyes, and let the sun warm my face a few more times. To say, I don't know, a few more times. To say, I'm sorry, a few more times. To say, I love you, a few more times. To see that one rainbow that I've never seen, one last time. Good friends will not pass you by. I buoni amici non ti lasceranno sfuggire. Strawbirds float on gusts of fresh air. Gli uccelli di paglia galghiano su folate di aria fresca. I am who I am. Sono chi sono. Luigi, a childhood friend, had taught Cenga how to warble whistle with a high pitch by curling his tongue, stretching and compressing his lips simultaneously, and puffing air from his lungs through the space between his two front teeth by lifting and lowering his tongue as he exhaled, forcing the air upward and outward. The sound emulated the quivering singing of the birds as they communicated with each other. Cenga would hang upside down from his bent knees, hooked on an olive branch protruding from a tree on the cliffside of Il Monte San Biagio, intoning his quavering whistle in call and response conversational song with the cliff swallows, gently gesturing with his hands in simulated sign language, looking much like a bird adjusting its feathers. As he was inverted, his tunic fell to his shoulders, and he looked like an upside-down and inside-out umbrella. Cenga looked up and saw ocean waves crashing against the cliff wall and the craggy shoreline rocks below, and then looked down to the mountaintop and saw a pack of wayward, tail-wagging dogs howling at him, hoping he had more chicken bones to feed them. Cenga thought how perfect and peaceful to be hanging here on a tree branch, whistling Luigi's whistle and having a lyrical, meaningful discourse with the cliff swallows and red kite falcons. One warm, sunny afternoon, Mago di Fiori and Cenga were sitting on a stone pew at the cliff's edge, overlooking the ocean below, lapping against the high walls and the rocky reef of Il Monte San Biagio. Cenga reminisced about their first meeting. Do you remember when I first saw you? You were entering your home. I was passing by, pedaling my cycle, and I stopped and called up to you, asking, "May I speak with you?" Mago responded, "But I'm going in here." And Cenga noted, "I am also going in here." Mago then looked at Cenga confused. Cenga opened his hand and gestured to the ground beneath him and announced, "Yes, I am going in here." And then indicating a point a bit in front of him, "And also there." And then spreading his arms out, "And I hope to go wherever." Mago quizzically acquiesced and spoke with Cenga for a moment, thinking, this is not common local speech. This is learning how to understand Cenga speak. Sometime a few moons later, Cenga saw Mago di Fiori pass Antonio's Trattoria, un piccolo ristorante per il pranzo, a small luncheon restaurant, where Cenga was sitting outdoors under the shade of a round table umbrella for an afternoon repast. Cenga asked Mago to break bread with him. She came over and sat and asked, "What is your name?" "Cenga." "And then where are you from?" And Cenga simply spoke, "From here." "And then where do you hope to go?" Cenga was touched deeply with the curiosity of her queries, and he countered, "How is it that you intuitively know all the right questions to ask at exactly the right time. Mago uttered, "But I ask these questions of everyone." Cenga noted, "That does not negate that they are just the right questions wherever you are and whomever you are with." Many suns and moons later, Mago di Fiori and Cenga Paglia were sitting quietly at that same place. Cenga silently wondered and glanced her way. Mago looked back and spoke what they both had been silently contemplating. "I love you is all I know. All right questions asked. No wrong answers given." Sono state poste tutte le domande giuste. Nessuna risposta sbagliata data.